Well, he's done it again. Beethoven labels the third movement scherzo as a minuetto, and who knows why? Because this is possibly the boldest and most raucous of any of his symphonic scherzi. You recall the rhythmic device, the hemiola, that we discussed in the Third Symphony? Again, it occurs in music with 3 beats to the measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So say that we take 2 measures or bars of very quick triple time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the accent naturally falls on the first beat of each bar. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's 2 groups of 3 beats. But these 6 very fast beats, da 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 da, can also be divided into groups of 2, with the accents on every 2 beats. So we would now have 3 groups of 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's simple mathematics. You got 6 beats, you can divide them into 3, you can divide them into 2. And the hemiola pattern shifts between both of these groupings, usually at a very quick tempo. So back in the Eroica Symphony's first movement, Beethoven used the hemiola to disrupt and destabilize the normal flow of the music. Here, in the Fourth Symphony's scherzo, the hemiola is the normal.
What happens in that music is so emotionally rich and so personally connectable that it really doesn't matter to know how it's made unless you want to make something great. For those who are interested in creating, doesn't matter whether it's music or literature or visual content, those people, of course, gradually develop curiosity to find out how a great piece of art was created, what was done. I mean, what kind of paint did Da Vinci use in his great paintings, and why? That's another important. Why did he use this kind of brushstroke and not that one, and how it's all connected? So, but that is more of an interest to someone who is in the mode of creation. We're all creators. I think you can be creative doing anything, including cleaning the house.
Yes.
And even cleaning the house has something to do with architecture and construction and planning and interconnection. So it's all, to me at least, it's all interconnected, and it's driven by the level of curiosity. And Beethoven's music can be elevator music, sure. Some of it is used very successfully in elevators. It can be background music. Yes, some of his tunes and themes, which he stole from bars and pubs, they're great elevator music. But it's not probably the best music for restaurant background, because it's just too energetic and bombastic and too much contrast. So it probably requires a certain level of attention. And when that attention is given, the story and the journey becomes so captivating.
So here it is again, the opening 20 measures with its repeat. The conception and organization of these seemingly chaotic rhythmic groupings for full orchestra is astounding. What's more amazing is that these shadowy diminished arpeggios, in my opinion, are Beethoven's connecting this riotous dance with the mysterious gloom of the first movement's introduction, that cosmic nothingness from which everything has emerged. It has to be. In Haydn's Great Symphony 102, this sort of cosmic connection is maintained right until the end of the work. So we have this amazing opening 20-measure section that encapsulates the entire musical content of this scherzo. A rowdy, rambunctious dance called a minuet, wild fluctuations in the rhythmic structure, the sudden appearance of those ghostly, fleeting arpeggios that stop the music dead in its tracks, and then 4 robust closing measures that chase the blues away. Here it is again.
Wow, there you have it. Third
That was
movement. Yeah.
what a compact movement, isn't it? One of the shortest Beethoven wrote for symphonies, and one of the shortest and most concise, precise looks into its content and its energy and how it's constructed. It's really about the architecture Larry Rapchak is focusing on, and it delivers the entire underlying machine of this
Right.
movement.
Well, there's two things that fascinates me. First of all, I don't understand why he called it a minuet. Clearly, it doesn't sound very easy to dance to unless you slow it down a fair bit. That's the first thing. The second thing is what was fascinating was how he connected the first movement introduction via the shadowy, diminished arpeggios that we heard just now. And I really enjoyed that connection. It's not obvious to me often how movements are connected, but it's like finding little Easter eggs when you watch a movie and you just get to see how everything's joined up. What is your take on all this and this connection between movements via some very strange little key?
Yeah, I liked very much the visual which our team put in there when
Yes.
Lawrence Rapchak is talking about the cosmic connection, and Beethoven was very much into science and into comprehending the interconnections of the world between humans and cosmos and everything. And that picture of the stars and everything being connected, I think was very visually clear and very telling of the meaning of that. Yeah, and definitely, that's a great insight into what is so captivating about Beethoven symphonies. It's their construction. I remember being a student and playing Beethoven and going into all this dominant tonic, dominant tonic, dominant tonic, and wondering what's in it. And like Beethoven hardly is using anything as complicated as other composers even of his
Yeah.
time did. It just all seems to be very bulky, like big blocks of something, and then you realize, yeah, I mean, he has boulders. Beethoven's music is made of boulders. So, and then until you realize that this bricks, boulders, those are building blocks of incredible construction, and that connection between the intro to the symphony and that there's a diminished seventh, and it's like a red line going through the entire symphony and
Yeah.
appearing at different places strategically, and of course Beethoven put it in there with a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the timing of it and the harmonic content and its relationship, like where Larry is putting the entire harmonic structure on basically on one page. It's all thought through. These are the inner, like back end, inner
Yeah.
mechanics.
Yeah.
Beethoven will, of course, vary this little recap in many fascinating ways, especially those eerie, diminished arpeggios that glide up and down, and then this one, and then this one, before settling on this one, with this lowered note again on top that we've heard since the beginning, the introduction of the symphony. Recalling, yes, that lifeless, inanimate sound from the introduction, with accents now on the third beat of the measure. 3-1. 3-1. And things are teetering, you hear, rhythmically, until the hemiola kicks in to save the day. And order is restored.
Why it's so fascinating to have the same thing appear many different times. and this is sort of like a creative device, perhaps, where the same motive or the same thing just keeps repeating, but in a slightly different context, and it repeats throughout, and it perhaps even grows in significance as it repeats. And then, I mean, you see this in sort of the oldest traditional stories within the biblical times, or sort of things where there's a certain image or certain myths where you see it's could be a certain bird or that comes back, or a bird or something. What do you think is about us humans where we like to see these things reappear, or do you think that just reflects life, where we continue to eat bread all the time, and bread is ubiquitous throughout? I don't know. What is it that makes this? Is it? Yeah, because it's fascinating how it's all in every single art form. You try to see something. There's a motive. There's something that repeats itself, and I don't know.
That's a great question with a very long answer, I think, and everyone will probably give it extraordinary long answers, including scientific answers, mathematical answers, neuroscience answers.
Give me your musical, pedagogical,
empirical answer, right?
Answer, yes.
Okay, here's my empirical answer, which is probably not a complete answer anyway. I think it has something to do with how we try to understand what the world around us and within us is, and like one of the most basic methods of research and understanding is looking for patterns. Simple as that. We look for patterns, and we look for patterns. Even very young children look for patterns, because that creates predictability. It creates a sense of understanding and security in the world, which we can't comprehend anyway, but at least we can comprehend some patterns. If if it gets cloudy, it might rain, so that protects us from getting wet, and so forth. So looking for patterns, recognizing patterns, and then recreating patterns with some meaning attached, whether it's a story where the character appears in different scenes, or it's a musical element, or it's in any creative art, you see those patterns. They represent change. We look for repetition and the change and comparison. It's compare and contrast. So I think that's yeah.
No, that's a fantastic answer.
And you hear how Beethoven delights in throwing everything off balance, ready to slip into chaos, and then with a stroke of his pen, he restores order. Now with more hemiola, earthbound and heavenly. And that rollicking triad theme closes out the main scherzo. Beethoven, musical master of the universe. Incidentally, this hemiola device, the quick alternating between rhythmic groups of 2 and 3, it figures prominently in a couple of well-known traditional ethnic dances that are built on this pattern. The Spanish dance, the polo, alternates between 2 groups of 3, yumpa, yumpa, and 3 quick groups of 2, dumpa, dumpa, bumpa, like so. Anyone who knows the great musical man of La Mancha will recognize this authentic polo rhythmic pattern. Or in Bernstein's West Side Story, in America, same pattern. Groups of 3 and then followed by a shorter group of 2. That's the polo rhythm. But there's a famous Czech folk dance, the Furiant, that reverses this pattern. The 3 groups of 2 come first, then the 2 groups of 3. So we have 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. Yes, check out Dvorak's thrilling Furiant scherzo from his 6th symphony. Hemiola that Beethoven used so brilliantly to disrupt his symphonic world has direct parallels to these folk dances, of which Beethoven was probably aware, certainly the Czech Furiant. So now, with all of that to ponder, here is the entire main scherzo from Beethoven's 4th Symphony.
Yeah, and do you find this to be, when you're teaching a piece by Beethoven or something, and you realize the student is playing it in a certain way that it's different from how you conceived of it? And I wonder, do you think there are different versions of Beethoven that people exhibit? They might then, because there's so many people who've recorded these symphonies and sonatas, and it begs the question, why do we want to hear another version? There must be, is it true to Beethoven, or is there many truths? I don't know. What are your thoughts on these sort of things? Because we are studying Beethoven and his personality and his temperament and how he structures and puts things together. Having said that, we're not him. And so we're not playing it as him, but we're trying to stick very closely to it, and yet there are always these little nuances. What do you think about this?
Well, the one question out of a bajillion which you just put on the table.
Yes,
really
choose one.
Yeah, choose one.
Or two. You're allowed one or two.
One definitely strikes a tone for me is, why do we need to hear another Beethoven? I think we just don't. We don't need any of it.
Yeah.
But musicians want to play it, and people want to hear, and we all love live music, and that determines it. We hear Beethoven because it's great music, it's fun to play, it's fun to listen to, and recreating it, resurrecting it again and again on stage and various settings live. It just is so much fun. We're never going to give it up, and I think that's the main reason why people want to play it again and again. And yes, I'm sure everyone, myself included, when we play a bit of music, I mean, I can only play it on piano. Yeah, I would like to play it in my own unique way, but in the end, it's just a tiny difference, a pebble from everybody else, and it really doesn't even matter how different or the same it is. It's the great music which speaks for itself. So.
I like that. I mean, I always, my answer to that is always similar to why do we need to hear Shakespeare's plays or any of the great plays, or why do we need to remake all these different movies or different texts? Pride and Prejudice, but Jane Austen's been made into many movies, many TV shows and stuff, but yet we still want to come back to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's.
I think it's the fundamental difference between need and want. I don't think we need any of it, but we want it because it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I like that. I think that answer really gels together with the whole spirit of this movement as well.
Now, the structural middle of the scherzo, the trio. Beethoven marks it a bit slower than the main scherzo, providing a nice sense of relief from the near chaos we have experienced. And the trio has an unmistakable rustic, nature-like character, and a gentle, graceful woodwind theme, like so. To which the violins respond, these little nature sounds. The woodwinds repeat the tune now, but starting with 2/8 notes, like so, and the violins will imitate them, like so. And these fleeting nature sounds begin to grow organically. Now again with the lowered G-flat, yes, and this fragment now expands into a tranquil stream of sound, almost like the flowing motion of a river, without getting too picturesque here. And the rustic woodwind theme now returns, and we're swept along with this joyous country song, mit Schwung, with hearty, swinging motion, and what clearly sounds like the old cuckoo call of the Austrian countryside. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. I don't know, it's a descending third. That's what a cuckoo does, right? We'll hear him again, of course, in the Sixth Symphony. That's certainly what it sounds like here. Here is the entire trio.
Chris, maybe you just go on a limb and talk a little bit about the scherzo and what it means.
Well, my impression is that it means a bit of a joke, that there's a very joking element to it. Although there is structure, it's still in three, so it's born out of this idea that we need something before the last movement that's in three that represents a bit of a dance, and there's sort of this quick thing, like almost an intermission or intermezzo sort of thing before the final movement. And usually it's the case that you have had already two significant
Heavy duty.
what are the statements of reality, statements of the world, and especially with Beethoven's symphonies, this universe. There's something that's very concrete, and it's part of his philosophy. And then you need something to just break the ice a little bit and say, everybody, let's have a nice dance. It's the same for when we did the Beethoven Fifth Symphony together. And when the third movement has this idea that, okay, let's just have a palate cleanser and have a bit of fun. Let me tell you a joke. And Beethoven's jokes, I mean, they're not what you normally would think of as a joke, but they hit. It really strikes the iron properly. And so that's basically what it is. And subsequent composers after that have been inspired to do very similar things with their third movement. I don't think that structure has really changed since I think Beethoven solidified something that has been universally taken on. And you may get certain changes here and there. Sometimes a scherzo comes in the second movement, and you have the third movement being this long and beautiful largo adagio, perhaps, and then. But it's just switcheroo, as we call it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's right. That form is just so all inclusive and so harmonious. The five-part form where things episode and then it comes back and then the episode and comes back, and it's just so rhythmical and organic.
And the entire scherzo proper returns, as is the custom. But Beethoven does something else new and different here. He repeats the scherzo from the top as required, but then he also repeats the entire trio, after which the scherzo proper is heard again. So instead of the traditional three-part structure, scherzo, trio, scherzo, we now have a five-part structure, scherzo, trio, scherzo, trio, scherzo. This may be the first time that this was done in symphonic music. I'll have to check. But Beethoven will now use this expanded five-part structure in all of his future symphonic scherzi. And at the very end, a little surprise, a brief hunting horn call. The rustic horn fifth that we've discussed, bringing yet another fascinating, complex, and revolutionary symphonic movement to an end.
A lot of the composers, especially during and after Beethoven, you have a lot of famous conductors who also were famous composers, like Mahler. Gustav Mahler is one of them, and most composers, Brahms included, would also conduct their works and conduct works of previous. And when you have had a master like Beethoven and everybody studies his music, when you come to compose your own music, I think there's always going to be that stamp that's going to stick. Just like for Beethoven himself, the mark and the stamp of Mozart and Haydn was quite strong, and it's very hard to maneuver out of that without recognizing that you're standing on the shoulders of greats. And that's a challenge that you always have to face, that you realize, what else do I have to say? Well, I want to take your word for it. I want to say this. And I think that makes it really worthwhile.